Hey family, welcome to the Intentional Living Show with Dr. Constance Peek-Longmire. I am so glad that you tuned in. Are you still grooving with me with that music? I am. I love my music. I love my intro music. I'm glad that you tuned in today. This is a very special day for me that we have a very special guest come on. I know there's a lot of things going on in the world, and so I felt like we need to know how we can be safe, and how we can be courageously safe, and how we can make sure that our family is safe. So I brought on a police officer, and he also has a business called Courageous. He works with school systems, he works with organizations, and he just wants you to be safe and comfortable in the environment that you are in. His name is Larney Zellner Jr. Welcome to the Intentional Living Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so glad that you came on.
I'm loving this. I've been watching this happen for a while, so to actually have a spot here today, man, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Thank you. I'm looking at you, and again, you're such a young man, and you chose a career that is, I don't want to say dangerous, but I want to say it's concerning.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? First of all, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for looking out for all of us.
Thank you for your support. So I'm a police officer. Been an officer for maybe about 8 years now, almost pushing 9, so the time has flown. And it's nothing that I grew up actually wanting to do. It kind of just fell into it, per se. But once I got into the field, I absolutely love it. I love being able to help people. I love being able to show up in people's time of need and, just be there for them.
And I like that you took it another level. You just said, okay, I can do this part, but
do some more, do some extra. I absolutely love being there for people and helping people, and I want to be able to equip people to be able to help themselves if the officers or someone isn't there for them.
And that's really good, because a lot of people, we understand gun control, we understand our amendment rights, but we do have a right to own the gun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Everyone has the right to carry. In Ohio, we've always had the right to open carry, and just in 2022, in June of 2022, we've got the constitutional carry where now everyone can conceal carry. And if you do choose to conceal carry, you just have to follow the same guidelines as if you were to get a concealed handgun license in Ohio.
So what is conceal carry?
So concealed carry is just like concealed handgun license.
Okay.
It just gives you the right to carry a firearm on your person concealed in specific places. There are areas that you can't go, like government buildings, like school buildings or on school grounds, but when you go through those courses, they actually tell you what you can and you can't do. But everyone does have a right, a Second Amendment, that Second Amendment right to carry.
So do we need our license with us in the car? When we have our firearm with us, is it good to have that just in case we are pulled over? So
if you do choose to get a concealed handgun license, you do want to keep it on you. But since 2022, you don't even need a concealed handgun license. With constitutional carry now, anyone can carry a firearm, whether it's open carry or concealed carry. But if you do choose to do that, you have to follow those guidelines. So I say always look at the Ohio laws and see what it takes to carry a gun, because you're held to that same standard if you do choose to carry.
I have to say, we went to, Ken and I, my husband and I, he took me to the gun.
Okay.
And so we were looking at which ones do you want? And I have to say this, do you have anything little and pink?
That sounds like my wife. That sounds like my wife.
And I'm like, oh no. So the guy just looked at us and he kind of chuckled, him and Ken chuckled. But they are little and pink.
There's a lot of different size guns.
Yes.
There's a lot of different options you have out there, and I always say the biggest form or the biggest thing you need to look at when choosing a firearm is what the use is going to be. So if it's going to be a handgun or a firearm for home protection, or if it's going to be something that you have to carry and you have to conceal, how it fits in your hand, or if that's a gun for you as far as recoil management, as far as the caliber that you want. There's a lot of different things that come into play, but the use of the gun is going to be one of the biggest things for you.
Well, I have to tell you this, when I was holding it, I felt like, kind of like this power.
Huh?
Yeah.
How was it when you first pressed that trigger and that gun recoiled in your hand?
You know what? We didn't get that far, but we just held it, and I felt like, where they at? Where they at? I kind of. Now, is that a sense that happens when people have?
So a lot of people, I feel like, get that bit of courage or that assurance if they have a firearm. The scary thing I've found is that people will either not take a class and not get educated on firearm safety, or they'll take a class once, and then once they take that class, they don't do anything else to improve, and it's a perishable skill. So they'll learn about gun safety. They'll fire it one time to get qualified, because the concealed handgun license class is just an 8-hour class in Ohio. You need 6 hours in the classroom, and then 2 hours on range, and that's 8 hours. And that says you now can carry this weapon, this firearm that you can almost use. You can use lethal force if if the situation arises, and that's scary for people who don't train. Who don't continue to continuously get educated, because if you're not put in that position all the time, or if you're not training, then sometimes it's harder to make that decision under stress or under pressure. But people definitely feel powerful, and people will walk down a dark alley now because they know they have their gun. And I say, if you've been living life for 25 years and you haven't walked down a dark alley, don't start now just because you have a gun. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't act brand new.
Don't act brand new. Just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
But we have all these TV shows. We have Law and Order. We have 911. We have.
That's not real life. That's not real life. It doesn't happen as fast as it does in TV shows. Some TV shows have really good depictions, but like they'll pull a bullet out the wall, or a cartridge out, the shell out the wall, and then send it off to the lab, and they'll have it back in 24 hours. No, we're waiting 6 months to 8 months to get things back. It doesn't happen like that.
Don't tell me. I can't.
It doesn't happen like that. So yes, there's a difference between that reality and that TV. But I mean, you have to train. You have to be educated. You have to train to stay safe.
And I like what you did. So with that, you have to be educated and trained. You started your business.
Yes.
Can you tell me?
And I'll rewind a little bit. When I got into police and I got through the police academy, and after I got through the police academy, which is like baseline, they teach you the baseline of what you need to be a police officer. And you go through firearms and qualifications and things like that. And I got out of the academy, and I end up going on a call. I go on a call at my job, and it's a call with a guy, and he's walking around with a rifle in a building. And so we get there, and we pull out our weapons. I have my weapon drawn, and I look around. I'm like, man, well, I'm just out the academy. I'm not the most amazing shot. I qualified, but I'm not the best. And I look around, I look at who I'm with. I'm like, man, well, if someone has to do something, like, I know I don't feel extremely confident in my ability. Excuse me. So after I got off that call, and everything went fine with that call, but after I cleared that call, I said, I don't ever want to have that feeling again. It wasn't a feeling of helplessness, but I said, if I have to be responsible for my actions, I at least want to be confident in that. So from there, I just delved deep into training. I dug deep into training outside of law enforcement. I just go get classes on my own and seek out different instructors, and I just started getting better and better. And I've always had a background in instruction. I've had a fitness company for years. I came out of Kent State University with an exercise science degree, so I had a company called Zellner Fit for many years, and I trained a lot of people. So I've always taught. I coached Special Olympic swimming for years. I coached a swim team for 10 years. So I had a lot of different coaching and different teaching. So I love teaching. I love educating. So once I got to a point in my firearm journey where I felt confident enough to not only be confident when I'm on scene, I said, I want to make sure I can empower my family. I have a wife. I have 3 daughters. So I want to be able to empower my family and make sure my wife can make those decisions and be able to at least manipulate a gun and use it safely. And the same thing for my family. As soon as I became an instructor, I took my whole family through a concealed handgun license course, and I made sure that everyone at least knew how to manipulate a gun safety. I made sure that everyone knew the gun safety rules and what it meant to keep a gun safe and to respect it, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. So you need a person with a gun for something to happen. And a lot of things. There's a lot of different things around the nation about firearms and banning, and that's a whole different conversation. But when people are educated and responsible and doing things safely, a lot of times you don't have anything to worry about.
Right. Boy, you hit it on, you said people kill.
Yes. You run into a lot of people in a lot of different situations, but it's not the gun that's doing it, it's the people behind it. Just like cars.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like cars.
Yeah, that's
true. So make it realistic.
So I like the business, and I like how you put your daughters, and so that's wonderful. At a young age, they're not scared.
Yeah, they've been exposed. So I never grew up with firearms in the house, right? I didn't touch a firearm until I was 26 years old. So I went 26 years of my life following my gut. And I always tell people, trust your gut. So if you're walking out on the street and you see somebody walking towards you that you're not comfortable with, if you get that courage, if you have a gun, people just walk into the situation. But you can cross the street. There's nothing wrong with crossing the street. There's nothing wrong with, just being aware of your surroundings, all right? Wow. So my daughters and my wife, they're pretty comfortable around firearms just because I want to make sure that everyone is really comfortable around firearms once I start implementing those into my life. So my daughter will be around when I clean my firearm in the house, or my wife went through a concealed handgun license course. But I believe exposure is everything, and you have to know your family. So my daughters, the only reason they were ever interested in firearms is just because Dad did firearms, right? So if I had a child that was like, I just want to see the gun, or I want to grab the gun, or where the gun's at, they're not like that. So you have to be cognizant of who your child is, what their interest level is. But from a very young age, I've always taught my daughters weapon safety, so the firearm safety rules. I have a rubber gun in the house. I tell them if they grab it, always make sure their fingers off the trigger. They don't touch any firearms in the house, period. So if they see one, like if I have my duty gun, I come home, like they won't even hug me on that side, just because they're so conditioned for that. But it's funny, they'll grab like a water bottle at the house or a water hose, and they'll still have their finger off of, along the side of the frame, just because that's what we've had ingrained. But it's really important to to let children know that these are tools, not toys. And at least
dropping them gems
and at least
today,
make sure
Lonnie.
that they know that the firearm safety rules at best. And then for parents, I talk to parents a lot now and teachers a lot now. And some people say, I don't want to carry a gun, I don't feel safe with those around, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need a gun. But I tell people that it's really important to, I say, still get into a class.
Yes.
And at least know how to make a firearm safe. So that it's not a liability, or you're not a liability if for some reason a gun finds itself its way into your hands. And that's as simple as if you're an educator, or if you're at a job and something happens and there ends up being a gun on scene and it like falls on the floor and someone's subdued and you grab it because we can't leave it on the ground. I don't want you to grab it and just put your finger on the trigger and press it, But as kids from a young age, anytime you grab a toy gun, you grab it and your finger immediately goes into the trigger.
Right.
It just does. So I say teachers, educators, anyone in schools, anyone just who works places, just get educated. Get yourself into a firearm safety course just so that you know.
So this is what your business, part of your business, you go, you train people, correct?
Yeah, so Courageous is
Mm-hmm.
a training and education company. So a couple of different facets. I do a lot of firearms and tactics training. So
kind of break that down, firearms and tactics.
So firearms and tactics, for civilians, I'll do like the concealed handgun license course. I'll do a personal protection inside the home course. So that's a course where it just helps people formulate a plan for if someone actually did come into the house, what that would look like for them to protect themselves or their families, what it would look like for them to actually get on the phone and talk to the police, and what type of verbals they would give inside the house if they knew someone was there.
So what type of verbals? So
verbals, as far as if you hear someone in your house, and if you have all your family in one room, or if you have to get your family, get them to one room, hey, I've called the police, don't come in here, don't come in this room. If you come in here, I have a gun. Those different things that you're giving people warnings, and you let them know that if they do come in here, you're willing to use lethal force to save you or your family's life.
Wow.
So it's so that's a thing. So that's the personal protection inside the home. Then just people who want to learn about firearms. I teach a basic pistol. I teach basic rifle. I teach shotgun, and then we have dynamic pistol, dynamic shotgun, dynamic rifle, which just means that they're learning or compounding those fundamentals of rifle and pistol with movement. And then we have defensive pistol, and that's for people who are want to concealed carry. They've already gone through the basic the concealed handgun license course, and now they want to see, like, what do I need to do to carry a gun on my person? And that'll go from the baseline of what type of holster should you wear, What type of firearm are you choosing to, you know, if I need to pull it out, what are the reasons I will pull it out, or what would keep me safe, or, you know, legally in the lines of parameters of where I need to be. So that's the civilian side. And then the tactics side.
And I'm sorry, that's a course.
These are all courses.
All
Those
courses.
3 different
Wow,
courses.
this is interesting.
A concealed handgun license.
People need this learning.
A lot of people do. Especially a lot of people have firearms in their homes.
Right.
And they've shot them once in the last 10 years or once in the last 7 years, and they don't go to the range and they don't train. So that's that. On the tactics, I'm a CQB instructor. CQB is close quarter combat or close quarter battle. So it's what we train police and SWAT teams on how to enter homes or how to enter structures and navigate structures if there's a threat inside. So I teach that. I'm a trainer for active threat response. So I'll go and I'll actually teach the police departments and officers how to respond to an active shooter. I have a number of different courses and classes that I work with my department in training officers just to make sure that we are, you know, we're up to par if anyone ever needs officers to respond.
Wow.
And tactics have changed from the Uvalde to Columbine. A lot of different tactics and policing has changed. It's constantly evolving. So I just want to make sure that officers that are with me and just officers across the nation and across this state in Ohio are up on their training and at least know how to make sure that not only everyone else that they're going to engage goes home, but also them, they go home too.
So how often should someone be trained? So we go through your course, and when should we go have a refresher?
I say train as much as possible. That's not realistic, so but that's just my life because of what I do. I tell people if you can make it to the range once or twice a month, like to the actual gun range, I think that's good. You don't have to shoot 1,000 rounds every time. You can go and shoot a box of ammunition. A box of ammunition is usually 50 rounds. You can go shoot one box, but I tell people even at home, you can make sure that you can dry fire. Make sure you bring your gun out, make sure it's clear so there's no ammunition in the chamber, no magazine in your gun, so make sure you have a safe gun. And just work on manipulating it. Because some people will put that gun in the safe, and the only time they ever go to use it is if they feel like there's trouble. And then that's when you have errors, like people don't remember how to make a gun, how to turn the safety off, or how to load a gun, or what to do, because under stress, you know, we lose all fine motor skills, we lose a lot of different things. And you don't want to be that person under stress just to lose everything. So at least putting your hand on your gun, manipulating your gun, working on how to aim it appropriately and correctly. There's a lot of things that people should do, but definitely put your hands on your gun, I say weekly. And that might sound fun, but put it on there weekly, especially if it's a tool that you choose to carry around weekly, but definitely go to the range every once to twice a month.
Wow. That's, just in talking to you, I'm feeling comfortable now. So when we go back to pick up my gun, to get my gun, I'm definitely I'll feel more confident, because even when I picked it up and I was holding it, they kept moving my arm.
Yeah, they did. A lot of people just point it. So gun safety rules is always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Always keep that muzzle in the safe direction. So always say pretend there's a laser going all the way out, and anything that laser touches, it could hurt it or could cut it. So when you do that, then, you know, people just always like throw their gun here or here, and you don't want to ever point a gun at anything that you don't want to hurt, harm, or destroy. Right, so always keep those in a safe direction. Always know what's behind anything that you're shooting at. So it's called your backstop. But those are just rules that you always have to do, and always treat every gun as if it's loaded, which is really huge. Which is really huge. But those gun safety rules are really big, and it's something that everyone should know. Everyone should know for sure. So that's for the civilian. That's the training. But what I really always want to push for people is active shooter training, and that's what I do. That's another facet of Courageous. It's active shooter training. I go into organizations, I go into schools, I go into houses of worship, and I just tell people what it looks like if there's actually an active shooter event going on, what our options are. What our options are, what type of life-saving actions we can take, life-preserving actions we can take until the police come or until first responders come. And that's the biggest thing. And unfortunately, when we start looking at statistics, a lot of time active shooter events, more times than not, so over 50% of active shooter incidents are over before police respond, which is crazy, scary to think, but they're over before police respond. They're either over by the active shooter, ending the situation, or when them end up being them leaving, or them, you know, unaliving, or someone who's there on scene taking some type of, or making some type of life-saving action.
Wow.
And that's huge. So when I do my courses, you know, we do go through the whole run, hide, fight, which are 3 options whenever you have some type of active shooter situation. We go through those and we give people the different options that they have and how to implement those. So it's just not say run, hide, fight, but what does it look like to implement that in your workplace or at home, or if you're out at Target with your family, or if you're on a vacation, you know, in Florida, you know, always being aware of your surroundings, always being able to use weapons of opportunity. You know, that if something happens, just use what you have, because there's never a fair fight. It's never a fair fight. And what we want to do is just make sure that we're always going home. We're always preserving. So active shooter training is a must for every church, every school, and every workplace.
Wow.
Every workplace.
Because it's real.
Yeah, it happens. It happens more than people think. And no one thinks it's going to happen to them until it happens.
Right.
And until it happens. And when you interview people who are actually part of active shooter incidents and events, they say they wish they would have had some type of training on how to respond.
Right.
They wish they would have had some type of first aid training. Because unfortunately, if you have someone on the floor that's hurt, you want to be able to be able to help them. And then they wish they would have known what to say when they called 911.
Wow.
So, and that's, you know, those are real life things that we don't think about until they happen. Because the deepest our thought process goes is, man, if somebody came in here, I'd just run away, or like, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
And that's where people stop, just because they don't want to think deeper into a situation like that. But we need a plan. We need a plan.
We do. And it's the day that we're living in, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people on edge and a lot of people road rage.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And and I'm thinking as you're speaking, how many people that I've worked with who came to work just angry, and they would say things flippantly that I just kind of blew off.
Yeah.
But who knows?
You never know. So you always, when we talk about being aware of your surroundings, and not just like being aware when you're walking down the street, but we have to be emotionally intelligent when it comes to our workplace and looking at our coworkers, or even looking at our family members or our friends. So if something seems off, you know, if you see that someone's demeanor has been changing, or their physical, how they're dressing, how they're presenting themselves has been changing, like, it's things to look at. It's things to be cognizant of and to check on, because it's not a problem until it's a problem.
That's
you know, so if someone's having issues or problems in life, or they're having financial problems, or they're having, you know, marital problems, or anything, health problems, and they start feeling helpless and hopeless, or they're just angry because they don't like where they work or the people that they work with, you want to be aware of those things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you that talks to them, but you want to bring it to someone's attention.
Absolutely.
And in high school, you'd always have the kid that someone would mess with, and you say, "Oh, don't mess with Charlie, because he's gonna come and, you know, he's gonna do something at school, and, you know, he's not gonna mess with me because I'm being happy." And it was a joke back then, but it's real life now.
It's real life
now. So being aware of your surroundings, not only when you're just out walking, and that's really important too, but be aware of your family. You know, if family's going through, if friends are going through, and they start pulling back or wanting to be more distant, check on somebody, check on someone. Be aware of the resources that you can have in your community, or in your city, or in your state, and be able to, if you're not going to directly contact or communicate with them, have somebody else do it.
Wow. Because the TV show Snapped.
Yeah. And people are engaged with that really big. I couldn't believe that was the guy next door.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. It's a real thing.
And it not that you want to look at people any different, but it could happen to anybody. Anybody could be, like we mentioned, on the edge. But I really love the courses that you're offering, and the active shooter for businesses, for churches, because those are vulnerability places, particularly churches and other nonprofit organizations.
It's all open. You know, it's not that a lot of these places aren't locked or secure. There's usually some type of public access or public entrance. On a Sunday, they'll call a church a soft target, because if you walk through those back doors, you only have maybe 4 people that are facing you. You have a whole congregation that's facing away from you. They're moving away from it now, but churches used to be a place where you have a lot of cash, you know, a lot of cash for offering and things like that. So people will know, if I come around this time, at church, then we can get some cash out of this place. But now it's just a hard target. People have malice or malintention in their heart. They'll come in and they'll do what they do. So it's important. It's so needed. And again, people don't think they don't think it could happen to us until it does.
Till it does.
Till it does.
And what you said earlier about emotional intelligence, just being self-aware.
Yeah, you have to be. You have to be. It's called leakage. So leakage is when people are, we talked about before, when people are showing those different signs. So there's not like one specific sign that says this person is an active shooter, but when you start compounding those different things, that's when you start watching and making sure that, you know, if something does happen, or to prevent something from happening, I want to be a step ahead. I want to be a step ahead, because the active shooter doesn't have a specific profile. You know, we know that at some point, a lot of times they've either been a victim and now they want to change their power position from being a victim to a victimizer. They felt like they've been wronged at some point, or if they feel like they're hopeless. If they plan to take themselves out, then they say, I'm going to take control of my situation at least one more time, and that's by, you know, imposing their will on a situation or a group of people, which is sad.
It is. We have a few minutes. So tell me about Courageous, and just outline the courses that Courageous, or the classes in your business Courageous, what all do you offer? Okay,
so we have tactical and firearms training. So if you want to learn about firearms, if you want to get your concealed handgun license, or if you have a firearm, whether it's a pistol, a rifle, or a shotgun, and you want to be more familiar with it or more comfortable with it, you could come here for that. And when it comes to active shooter training, or the education component, we have active shooter training. We have HR Aftermath, which is actually talking to organizations, the human resource side of organizations, about what resources we have to look at, what things we have to look at when we come to the reunification process of bringing people back into the workplace after there's been a traumatic incident or some type of active shooter. We have legal use of force. So if you do choose to carry a firearm, what are legal ramifications if you do get in some type of lethal force engagement? Okay, and then we have realtor safety. And that's for my realtors who are out here, and if you're going into situations, things you want to be aware of. So that's the education and training side. And then the last facet of it, we just do a lot of assessments, so safety and security assessments. So we come in and we look at the physical structure of buildings. We look at different security and safety protocols that companies have in place, and we give advice on how to improve them or what we can do to make them better. We look at policies and procedures, and also getting tangible or written emergency action plans that companies can use and give to their employees. So we have different facets for sure.
I understand you have a clothing line too.
We have Courageous. It's Courageous clothing line. It's usually just Courageous on the front, and we'll have some type of uplifting saying or something on the back. It's usually either a gun saying, or it's probably usually a Bible verse, because you know, I'm faith-based. You know, God is the one who brought me to this point. He's the one who's kept me going and policing for the amount of time that I have. He's kept me safe on a lot of crazy calls. So I always give glory and honor to Him. So with that Courageous, part of Courageous living is knowing who your courage and your help comes from.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We are so out of time, and I'm mad. There's a lot more.
There's so much to talk about.
There is.
There's so much to talk about.
These 28 minutes are just not long enough. So how can we get in contact with you?
So you can go to www.courageousconcept.com, or you can follow me, Courageous Consults, on Instagram, or you can email me at courageousconsults@gmail.com.
You're also on Facebook?
And I'm on Facebook. Well, that's just my name, Larney Zellner, but we'll just keep it there.
That.
No, for sure.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I feel so empowered. I feel like I can do something. You know,
we have to go to the range. We got to go shoot.
I promise I will.
We got to go shoot.
I promise I will. Family, didn't you learn a lot today with Larney Zellner Jr. and his business Courageous? Please take some notes and do something to help your family. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.